Okay, let me close that. And everyone, I think, can see the screen okay. And I believe everyone can hear me. Can someone give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay still? Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So this is week 5. We have one more week after this, and we will have been exposed to all the vowels and all the letters. Like I said, this will be circular learning. Just because you're exposed to them doesn't mean that I expect you to have things perfectly worked out. But this week and week 6, the letters get a little bit harder. Because they're a little bit funnier, and also because they may be what we call lookalikes. Like we have some things that are like lookalikes here. So definitely take your time and think about how you're going to remember these letters. So here's our week 5 letters. We're going to start with ayin, and we have tet. That's one of our letters today. And vet, yod, or yud. Some people say yud. And then this is what I call a fake final, and we are actually going to talk about this, but this is final kaf, and this is what I call a fake final. So, or final het, it's a fake final. So we'll talk about that later, but these are the 5 that we are going to, it's really 4 letters and what we call this fake final here. So, because you've already had this letter. Okay.
So is that actually a het?
It is absolutely a het. And the reason why we're presenting it here today is because I'm just exposing you to it because it does something weird when it's at the end of a word. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm always torn about presenting it now or not saying anything to you guys about it and presenting it later when we get to reading. But I go back and forth. So it's a regular het, but it does something weird when it's at the end of a word. And we'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. So here we go.
I'm sorry to
it's okay.
talk to you about this, but I'm kind of confused. So vet and bet look almost identical?
They are, and that's what we're going to talk about. They're look-alike letters.
Okay. It just curls a little bit inward. Okay.
Well, no, the only difference between a vet and a bet, is that what you said, vet and bet?
Yes.
Yes, is the dot in the middle. So a bet will have a dot in the middle.
Oh.
And a vet does not have the dot.
Okay.
So, in fact, if we have a gentleman who has been listening online because he's been working, but he wants to go to seminary. So one of the things here with the bet and vet, when you go to seminary, a lot of Christian seminaries, they don't even teach you bet, bet. They only teach you the bet. Because it technically is the same letter. It's just one has that plosive b, and the other is a soft v. So yeah, good catch. Okay, so let me just go over last week's letters really quick as we did. We had the Zion, which is the Z zipper, the Gimel, which is the g, like going. The Samik is another S. So remember, we have 2 ways to do S. We have Samik, and then later on, we're going to have Shin and Sin. And then here's another set of lookalike letters. Again, last week we had another set. Pei has that dot in the middle. There's no difference between Pei and Fei except that dot. So bet and vet is the same, and Pei and Fei is the same. So next session, when we get to the next set of 6 weeks, I'm going to give you a chart that shows you the lookalike letters right next to each other. So I don't always do that this way because I don't want to confuse you. But when I'm teaching adults, I try to do the letters, remember, by how much they're used. And we're getting to the letters now that aren't used as much. So Pei and Fei are lookalikes. Here we go. We did week 3. Here's our bet. Again, as you see, bet looks a lot like vet, exactly the same. The only difference is there's a dot in the middle. And then we have kaf, And then there's kaf has a dot or not a dot, and we'll talk about that. It's the same thing as bet and vet. It's kind of the same letter, but it's just a little bit of a change. And on week 3, we learned about het. So you're getting a het today. Like I said, this het does something different at the end of the word. But if you look at the het right here, and then we go down, it is the exact same letter. There's no different. It's just that the way we're going to show it has a vowel. Okay. We've talked about vav, and then we've talked about final noon. And I realized on your slide for week 3, this might say final vav. I might have messed you up. I realized I had a typo. I had moved it over too far. And for some reason, I had vav instead of noon. So I would check if you're doing anything. Final noon is the long one. I think I did say it right as we went through the rest of the slides, but vav is short. Final noon is long. Final noon dips below the line. And then, of course, we had some vowels, our E vowels, our syllable breaker, and our U right there. Okay. Week 2, we did resh, lamed, dalid, shin, and that's our other S. So remember, we had 2 ways to do S, shin and sin on this letter, depending on where the dot is. And then, of course, we just talked about samic, okay? And shin and sin is used way more often than samic. And then we have final letter, final mem. Now, the other thing I want to let you know that in the next 6 weeks, we look at lookalike letters all together to kind of clarify them for you. And we also look at finals. And we're going to look at finals a little bit today. But I clarify those for you. So we kind of learn them now. And I expect you to get them kind of messed up. And then we'll unmess them up. And you can see them together as a group, and that kind of helps after you've been exposed to them. And then we have our A vowel, O vowel, and O vowel. And just so you know, vowels will make more sense when we get to words. So I totally understand if vowels are kind of really difficult right now. Okay, then week 1, we have mem, tav, hey, Aleph, and noon. These are the most used words as we talked about. And we introduced you to 2 sets of vowels, your A sounds and your AE sounds. Okay. One thing that we will talk about next session is I'll kind of point out too some differences in pronunciation between how we say that in America and how we say it if we are talking to an Israeli. And what I do say as we learn more words, I want you to pronounce it like we're doing it in America right now, because then I know I'm hearing you say things correctly. But if you ever meet an Israeli, or if you ever went to Israel, if all the E's and I's sound the same, that's going to be okay, because that's how they do it. But I'll point out those things, especially too, as we get going and in the next set of 6 weeks. So that's why if you go online and you find like an Israeli person who's giving you words, like there's they have the 100 most used words in the Torah, and we will use those words next session. But if you have an Israeli say them, you'll be like, wait a minute, I don't quite understand what he said. It's because some of their vowels and some of their letters they don't pronounce the same way we do.
So
Okay.
are you saying that there wouldn't be a difference in their pronunciation between, say, a Hirik and a Segol? Would be similar?
So yeah, and sometimes their Hariks, their Segols, and their Series kind of depending on the word sound kind of like an eh, like the EH, like they're all kind of like EHs. So it's just an eh, and it's just that's how they do that, especially in Hebrew in Israel. Some of it has to do with the original pronunciation, and some of it has to do with the fact that Israelis, the Hebrew language is very concise the way it is. And Israelis, as they've been, they've only been building this language for what, 80 years now? And one of the ways they build this language is jamming sometimes things together and shortening things. And sometimes in Israel, they'll add a foreign word to a part of a Hebrew word. And so just it's as this, this is really a living language. In the last 80 years, we've been watching Hebrew develop. And so that's why when I say I teach biblical Hebrew, I have you learn it how it's written in the Bible, because that's the easiest to start with. I just want you to beware, because there's a lot of people from Israel now on YouTube teaching biblical Hebrew, which is really good, but their pronunciation is not biblical. It's still more it's more modern. So I just want you to know that different. So I would rather have you pick someone from a synagogue to copy for now until you get to a certain level than absolutely find all of the modern Israeli speakers you want. I just say right now it might be hard for you to distinguish. So for instance, the het and the haze, like there's almost no difference with a native Israeli speaker. So some of those things will be different, but I'm going to make you say the het, because I don't know if you're saying het or hey if you only say hey. You know what I'm saying? I need those differences. So, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So here we go. Now, as I said, this week is a little bit harder in two ways. One, these letters are harder to write. So the ayin, you don't have to do a little squiggly, but we do this because you'll see there's a good way to memorize it if I use this version. But these are harder letters to write. So I did give you some reference materials in the beginning. And one of them, too, to help remember your letters during the break is there's like K-Tav, and there's the Hebrew English. They're apps you can do on your phone. And, if you're sitting someplace for 5 minutes, sometimes people find that if they, when they get to this part, if they use the writing apps, it can help them remember the letters as they learn how to write them, because they're more challenging. And then, like I said, bet and vet is a lookalike letter, so that's a challenging. Yod looks like a comma, but the problem is the comma's up in the air. So, we're not used to that. And ak, like I said, is this whole weird thing. So, okay, but let's learn them first. Okay. And then also ayin is challenging because ayin is like aleph. Ayin is a vowel holder. So I just hyped up this letter, said you need to know it, and now I'm telling you that it doesn't make any sound at all. So here we go. Here's our ayin. I can tell you that when I'm reading the Torah, when I'm reading straight from the Torah, I love ayin, because although ayin is silent, if I don't know the word in the Torah, probably if I put an A sound in there, I'm probably going to be right. So I have my own theory about what ayin used to be in the ancient days, and I've never heard anyone say it. So I don't think it was just an A type sound or like a breath. But I think, like, when I read the Torah, every time I put an A in, I'm usually right. So, but I don't want you to do that. I'm just saying ayin's a vowel holder, doesn't make any sound. It only makes the A, or it only makes the blank, and then it holds a vowel underneath. You're just going to find later that a lot of times it holds an A vowel. So that's all I'm saying. It's the same thing as aleph. Aleph is a vowel holder. Ayin and aleph, we have got two vowel holders. So strange. It's the good part is we don't have to figure out why they did it. They just did it. So we just have to know they did it. So, okay. So one of the reasons why I used this version of ayin is because it looks like a mom sitting down holding a baby on her head, although a baby alien, I guess. And they're looking eye to eye. So ayin, eye to eye. I don't know if that helps you. If it does, great. Some people just want to say it's a letter Y, ayin. If that helps, whichever one helps. But it's just a long Y, with a very long tail. And like I said, there you go. Okay, now we have tet. And we already have another T, right? Why do we need another T? So Madison, you gave me 2 S's already. Now you're giving me 2 T's. Yes, I'm giving you another T. So we have tet, and it's the difference with tet is there's an opening on the top. So one of the ways that we can say is that they've torn it. It kind of looks like if you put this together, it would be like a final mem. It looks exactly like another letter, but just destroyed a little. And the only difference is there's this opening on top. Some people say that it's like a snake with a tail. So, the tail's right here. However works for you, but this is tet, and this is our less used way to do a T, and it's just a regular T sound. Okay. And here again is our vet. And just like we talked about earlier, the only difference between vet, the vet, and b vet is that dot, or it's called the dagesh, but it's a dot in the middle or a ball in the middle. When there's a ball in the middle, it's a B. When there's no ball in the middle, when it's void or vacuumed out, it is a V. And B and V, if you are to say a B and V and you're not careful, it's one of the words that we get confused a lot. So that is why in ancient days, I don't think people cared so much whether you said B or V, because it really is very, very similar in sound. So that's vet. Okay, here's yod. Yod is again like a comma, okay? And the comma is just in the air. So I used to say to my kids, my teenagers, that there's a saying in Israel, yalla bye, which means kind of get on your way, go on your way, see you later, yeah, how we'd say yeah, right, just it's just a way, it's just a why explanation. We'd say yeah. So if you think of it as a why, up in the air, maybe that helps. I probably just floored you and it doesn't help at all, so I apologize about that one. It's just an up, it's a comma, but it's a comma in the air. Yod does hold vowels. It works like it's ya, like the ry. So yeah, yod. I'm so eloquent tonight. Okay, now this is what I call a fake final. So again, we know it's het, it's the hoopa, it makes challah, but when it's at the end of a word and you have a patak underneath it, this is that a vowel patak. Remember, like when you're smiling, that not the of kamatz, the big one, the patak. It makes a different sound, and the sound that it makes is ak. And the reason why I point that out is because you're like, wait a minute, Madison, you said that there's never a sound before a letter. And that is correct. This is the only letter that you put the vowel before the final het. So this is the only way it works. And that's why I'm pointing it out. So when het is in the middle of the letter and it maybe has an O up here, it'd be ho. If it has a oo, it'd be who, like a dot on the side here by the belly button, it'd be who. If it has a any like if it's in the middle of the word and it has this, it'd be ha. But at the very end, it's ah. So it's just a weird exception. And I would like to say that probably don't worry about it right now. It's going to be a while before we get to any words that are going to have the final ak to it. But there you go. It's called a fake final letter because it's not really a final. It's the same letter. Okay. Okay, so again, week 1, mem, tav, that's our first T sound, aleph, vowel holder, hey, and noon, resh, lamed, dalid, shin, and sin, and our final mem. We have bet, chaf, het, we just looked at it again, vav, and final noon. And then last week, we have Zion, Gimel. Here's our Samik. Here's our Pei again, and Fei. Puh, puh. There's a period in the middle. It's a plosive. Fei. Fei is soft because there's nothing in there that we need to kind of blow out. And we have our Ayin, Tet, Vet, Yod, and Ak. Okay. Okay. So I'm not going to put you through this torture unless you want me to, but all I did was go through and add all the things, all the letters. We've added the last of the letters, or there'll be one more week. But so again, these are your drills at home. Za, ga, sa, fa, pa, a, ta, va, ya. And then on the second line down here, you would see, oh, let me go back up. You would see ra, la, da, sha. Okay, and let me just point out one more thing. We looked at sin and shin, and when it's on this side, when it's on when you're reading from right to left, and the first one you come to, that is the SH sound, okay? If we move the dot to the other side, the back side of it, because we read from right to left, that would be s. So that would be sha. And if we move the dot here, it would be sa. We will see that and you will get that pretty quickly because shin you use all the time. This is a final mem. So it'd be, it really wouldn't be anything because the reason why we're talking about this being ak here, I think some of you remember these final letters, they don't really have vowels. So it would be very rare. In fact, I can't even think of a word right now that you'd have a final with a vowel. There is a final cough, but it's totally different and it's got a different kind of vowel. So, but for the most part, you're not going to see a vowel underneath a final mem. It's just not going to happen. We have going on, we have ba, cha, that says chat, because this is the het, chat. We have va, and this would be a final noon again, so there would not be a letter underneath it because you really can't have a vowel underneath a final letter, which is why this is so odd because it's ak right here. That's the difference. Okay. And then we get ma. Here's our ta, ah, ha, and na. So those are our A's. So I'm going to stop for just a second. Does anybody have any questions about the A group of vowels? Okay. Okay. Now we're going to go on to the E's. Okay. And I'm just going to do this. So if you want to do this at home, you can go back and look at it and know what you're doing. I'm not going to do the Shiva because remember the Shiva has two states. One, it can be vocal, and this is the vocal one we're talking about here. So that's the quick A. EHA, remember, it's just enough EH sound to get the letter out. So for instance, if you have a V and then you have the rest of your word, you can't really say V and then, V and then like ahafta is love. Okay. So you can't go V ahafta. It's too hard to say. You need something to say. So we'd have V ahafta. We just need enough of an E to be able to say V ahafta, not V ahafta. Can you imagine if you were talking and you had to say me shabarak? Me shabarak means healing and wellness. So via hafta means and love. So mushabarik doesn't sound right, but mishabarik, we can say that like a normal word. So does that make sense? When we vocalize the shava, it's just enough E to make the word make sense. Okay. And then we have the hirik, the long. So we have our E's, whether it's E or E. So we have Z, G, C, Phi, P, E, because remember, this is the ayin. This is a vowel holder. It has no sound on its own. This is T. It's our new. This is V. Either one, it's V. This is Yi. And you find, just so you know, when you get to a yod and you have some other vowels, a lot of times that vowel may move a little bit up higher than what you expect it, because it's hard for printers to print a dot down below and have the yod so high. So if you're like, Madison, this is really weird, I don't understand, it could be that your hirik, instead of being down here by a normal letter, got moved up because your yod is really high to the top. But it's still Yi. It still sounds the same like it normally sounds. Okay, let me just move this over. Okay, we have Re, Li, D, and this would be she. And again, this is a trick question. Final mem, we wouldn't have a hirik underneath a final mem because finishes the sentence. We have B here. Here's our B. I noticed, I don't know if you can see me circle or not. Key, so that's the round one with the dot. And then we have our het, he. So let me point out, where's the hat? Where's the hat? Okay, so do you see right here? Does everyone see? We just did the het, right? So the head is at the end of the second line, pretty close to the end. I don't know if you can see me. I don't know if my little pointer is coming out or not. And then at the very bottom line, we have our hey. So it would be he, whereas the het would be he. So he would be the hey at the bottom line versus he. So I hope you guys can understand or can tell the difference between that. You know, the difference in the sound, because we definitely in the beginning need to know, like I said, I need to know that you know that this is a het and not a hey. We have our vav, so that'd be V. And then again, final noon is a trick question. There's no such thing as a hirik that I know of underneath a final noon. We have mem, tav, so me, T, and then again, here's your Aleph. So that's another vowel holder. So we have the Aleph and the ayin. That's an E, right? Hirik under an Aleph. And then we have he, and then the regular noon is ni. So those are our vowels. Okay. Okay. And I'm not going to do this is the segol here, the eh, and this is the oo, the following down the stairs. The second vowel is the oo, and we have o, and we have o. I think I just want you to get used to the sections, and then we can, as we get going and we learn words, we'll put more vowels in. So, but if you want to try on your own, there you go. And if you need me to, if someone needs me to go through it with the E's and then post it, I can do that as well. So I can just post the vowel exercises. Maybe that'd be helpful for you if I have all the vowel drills together and you could actually pull up the screen on YouTube and go through all the vowel drills. I don't know. If it's helpful, let me know. It's something I can do. Okay, now. Okay, so Yatina said that would be helpful, so I can absolutely go back and do that. And then that way, when you're bored in the car, riding home from work or something, you can listen to the thing. Okay, so let's take a look at, here's our ayin, okay? And here is our like eggs in a basket. And remember, this X or a box always represents, when we're teaching you Hebrew, that this would be a letter. It could be any letter, okay? So I want you to, kind of get you a little bit idea of how we're going to work with a letter here, a word, a couple little baby words here. So, but line 1, starting from the number 1 and going from right to left as we read, that would be again E, E, A, E, E, but we have a word here, eh. So it's really but it's hard for me to say here. So sorry, I should do it right. Because here we go. We're going to practice our zigzag reading. We're starting with the in, and we have a vowel underneath, which is an A. So we have and now we're going to our next letter, which is an R or resh. So we have and then we have another A. So rev. So Erev. We put it together, it's Erev. So we've just kind of sounded through one word already, Erev. And Erev means night, the night before, the day before. It's like, for instance, if you have a holiday on Monday, Sunday would be Erev Monday. It'd be the day before Monday, because, you know, in the biblical holidays in the Old Testament, everything starts at sundown or at sundown the night before. Their days start. So when God says he started in Genesis, when God says he started the new day, like, you know, on the days of creation, he started the days in summer, pretend, at 8:00 at night. That's when his day started. And his day ended the next day at 8:00 at night.
So sorry for the stupid question. Okay, so that next to last word in the first line.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if I understand you correctly, that's an in, it's silent.
Right.
Then it's got a segol, which is an right?
Yeah.
And then it's got a resh with another segol. So it would be so
it'd be for the first one, and then ra, because it's ra, and then because we have one more letter but no more vowels, we put the last 3 together, R, E, V sound. So it'd be rev.
Red. Okay. Now is that a dollar at the end? No.
No, that is your vet today. The new letter we learned, vet. That's your vet. So rev. Yep.
Rev. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And one of the things that we're definitely going to work on in the next 6 weeks is reading mechanics. So how do we approach this word? How do you know whether this is Erev or Erev, or how do you approach these words? And that's what we start to work on really a lot the next 6 weeks. So this last word is ba, because see the vet before it and the last one in the word before it, Erev. For some reason, I don't think my pointer is showing up to you guys. I don't know why, but the second to the last word is Erev, and you have a vet that ends it. Now you look to the next word and it has the dot in it. So we have ba. So we have Erev and ba, and those are 2 Hebrew words. And for the life of me right now, I cannot remember what ba means. So I apologize. But and then, of course, line 2 is just me, re, a, e, a, e, e. Okay. And I can, like I said, go through some of those drills. Okay. Okay. I'm not going to do this whole one, but we're going to work towards the end of the page. So this is our tet, right? It has a tear on the top. Okay. So let's go to the last, on line 1, the last 1, 2, 3. Let's just go from there. Okay. This would be toe, right? Because we have the t and we have the o over the vav, and the vav at that point is a vowel holder. So now we've talked about 3 vowel holders now. So I'm just kind of connect the dots. I don't expect you to remember this stuff today, but we have vav holds vowels. But the reason why I put those off separately is because vav can sometimes make its own sound. Whereas ayin and aleph are the vowel holders that don't make a sound. So in the next 6 weeks, That's why I'm saying don't worry about this. Not only are we're gonna look at lookalike letters all together to make sure you're not confused anymore, and we're gonna look at finals all together, but we're also gonna look at vowel holders, which are the ones that don't make any sound on their own, and which are the vowel holders that can make a sound. So again, we're exposing you to everything, and then we're gonna start to sift through the sieve next week. So we have toe on that first line, two, because we feel like we're falling down the stairs, ooh or boo, and then we have two. Okay, now let's go to the last word on the second line. Okay, do you see? Well, actually, look on the second line. What does anyone notice? What's different on the second line here? There's something that's a little bit different with the letter top. Does anyone notice?
Well,
So
it's got a dot inside of it.
yes, it has a dagesh inside. Okay. So when you see the dagesh, okay, it makes the exact same sound. It's the exact same T sound. So this one is kind of a good exercise because like if you look at line 2, it's ta, right? It's tet and a kamatz. The second one is ta. It's tav and a patak. Okay. So it's exactly the same. Ta, ta. Why do we put a dot in it? Well, there's some reasons, but mostly for today, in modern times, even when you're reading the Bible, it doesn't really do much of anything. It's definitely a harder T, but it's just it doesn't really do much. So don't let a dot in a tet fool you. It's this not the tet, a dot in a tav fool you. It's the same tav. This 1, 2, 3, 4, this fourth one in still is te. It doesn't do anything different because we have ta, from our Arab, our seri, and a yod. So te. So it's the same. It's the same. It doesn't, in fact, we have T here with the tet and an E, the hirik, and then we have a hirik yod, T, the tav, and a hirik yod. So I just want to show you that we are going to see some different things, but some of them are not going to mean anything different, and we will go through all that. Okay, how are we doing for time? Okay, let me show you a word. Okay. Okay, I know it's kind of hard to see, especially because just so you know, in the slide, the words, they kind of scrunched. I don't know what happened to them. But if you start at the right, we have this letter tet, and we have a vav with a dot on the top, and we have the letter V, okay? So we start in our zigzag writing or reading to hit that T, and then we're going to go up, and there's a vowel, okay? There's an O over a vav, okay? And one of the things that we're going to learn is Hebrew is really, really into consonants, which is the T, vowels, and consonants. So in the beginning, a lot of the words are going to be consonant, vowel, consonants, or maybe if we go to the other word here on this first page, the talit, it's going to be a consonant and a vowel, and then a consonant, vowel, consonant. So all I'm saying, so we have the first branch, and we're going to talk next week, or start to talk next session on how we know where do we break things up. So this is tov, and tov means good. So you've heard me say tov mayod, which means very good. There's some other words I use, but for some reason I'm on a tov mayod kick. Okay. Now, this is on this side, this is talit, talit. And I just want to show you, we have our tet here with the ah, so it's ta. There's a dot in the lamed. Did you notice the dot in the lamed? Okay. That dot, we're going to talk about dageshes in the next 6 weeks, and that dagesh can mean two. because remember I told you that the Hebrew in the Hebrew language, they don't like to make anything long. They want to do the shortest they can possible. And so sometimes that dot will mean it's doubled. Okay. But I don't want you to worry about it because I'm going to give you a flow chart. I'm going to give you an actual chart that you can go through. And it says, does this do this? Yes, then it's this. If it this, so there is a chart to help you know when it's a special, what that dot is doing. So there's a lot of dots, and I apologize, they do different things. Sometimes it means nothing, and sometimes it means something. Okay. So I'm not going to do the bottom one because it's too scrunchy. Okay. Here's your va. And here's the difference between ba, you see here on line 5, ba with the dot in it, and ba with the dot in it, or va without the dot. Okay. And just this is, we're going to do some lookalike drills like that later, but here's an example. Okay. I do want you to go to line 7 though, because I just want you to show, just want to show you that with our zigzag reading, we start with the Aleph, which doesn't make any sound. We have the patak, which is ah. We have our ba sound, that's the B. And then we have another sound, ah. So abba. Does anyone know what abba means in Hebrew?
Father.
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about father. So you have now learned your first word that you could read in the Bible. If you opened your Old Testament, you could find Abba right in there. Okay. Okay. I'm not going to go through all these because everyone's going to be like, oh, that's crazy. Okay. And this is a little bit more complicated. This is starting to probably look a little crazy for you, but it's not as bad as it says. Yod is yah, as in yes, or as in yellow, just yah. Just remember it's the yah. And we will go through those. Don't worry about that. So just know that yellow is like a high comma. But the reason why I like to show this, as you see where the letters are, Yod is way up at the page. In fact, let me, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So like line 2 shows a yod with an O, an olam over the top. Then there's a yod with a segol. So they're all there. It's just, it looks funny because yod is so short. But is it there? Okay, I was trying to see if there's a word there. Yay. Okay, nope, it's not here. Okay, so let's go down. Okay, so let me teach you some yod words. Okay, so the word was, okay, we have ha, because this is an H sound, it's the hey, and then we have the kamat, so ha. Then zigzag, we go up to the next one, which is a y sound for yod, and a sound for kamats again. So we have ha ya. So that means haya is was. So you won't use that till we start to do sentence. But what you may use is this down here, boy. Yeah, Y and the AH sound. So yeah. And then we go over to our lamed, which is L, and another EH sound, L or Le, D, and our Dalet. This is the final Dalet. So yay, laid. It's not a final dalet because there's not a final dalet. I meant it's the final letter is a dalet. So yeah, led. So if you said tov yaled, you would be saying that's a good boy. So or yaled tov, boy is good. So so there you go, yaled. So there's another word. Okay. Okay. There's vowel drills in here. Not going to go through these, but if you're really, really excited and you really, really want to do vowel drills, there's the first lines are the vowel drills. The second lines are actually word spelling. So we're going to visit this again, but I just wanted to give you some other samples of things and what they look like. Okay, our vowel review, a quick again, it's in the boxes. Most vowel marks are below the letter. some can be over, and there's only one vowel mark that you say before, and that is that ak exception, that final ak that we talked about today. Otherwise, there is never a sound before the letter. If there's something before the letter, it has to go to the letter before it. And we'll work on that next time. Again, some vowel letters are letter holders that don't make a sound ever. And now we've learned them, ayin and aleph. And some vowel letters do make a sound, and vav. We learned vav early on. So that's why I had these reference sheets. So if you do make up anything or you're making a binder for yourself, these reference sheets can be really helpful. Okay. Again, the vowels are grouped into different vowels. Remember that the A vowels will always have a horizontal line in them. EH vowels will always be stacked dots. EE vowels or I vowels will be a series of dots someplace. It'll be someplace. And O vowels are overhead. And again, we'll keep working with these. Okay, and that is where I was at. Now let me go to here to make you more confused. Okay. In the last couple minutes. Okay. Okay. So you should be able to see the classroom. Okay, and I want to try to see if I can get this to go big. I think you can see this better now. I'm hoping, can you guys see it a little better now? Can someone give me a thumbs up if you can actually see this part of the screen? Good. Okay. So I put it here because I didn't want you to get lost. So we have that fake final today, the het, okay, which it makes ak, but the real final letters, and we will talk, I said I'll put all the finals together, but the only other letters that have finals are kaf, mem, noon, fe, and sadi. Now, we've talked about final mem already, and we've talked about final noon already, but we have not talked about final kaf, final fe, and final sadi. So you don't need to go look up anything, but just in case, if someone says, wait a minute, you're talking to someone, you meet a Hebrew scholar and you're like, oh, what about the final het? And they're like, what are you talking about? Like I said, it's technically a fake final. There's only 5 true finals and they're all there. Okay. That's all I wanted to let you know. I didn't want you to get confused on that. Okay. Now. Okay, here we go. Okay, so my question to you guys is if you pull up this chart or one of these charts, okay, let me make it go down a little. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I know it's small. If you pulled up these charts, could you read these lines? So does anyone feel like trying a line or not? I don't know if people are eating and you don't want to try a line, so that's okay. But Donald, do you want to try a line?
Sure. Which one?
Just pick one, whatever you want to try.
Just the letter itself and not the sound.
Yes,
So,
just the letter. Just read the letters.
Lamed,
Okay.
Mem,
Mm-hmm.
Mem final,
Yep.
Nun,
Yep.
Nun final,
Yep.
Sadi, and Ayin.
Okay, so you had Lamed, Mem final, Noon, right? And then say this the second to the last one again.
Sadi.
Samik.
Samek, I'm sorry. Samek.
That's okay. So Samik is the circle. I know the circle's funny. And what was the last one?
Ayin.
Yes, perfect. Okay. So, and that was the third line. If my pointer, I don't know if my pointer is even showing up for you guys or not. So, does anybody want to try another line? Or
I'll try the first one.
Sure, go ahead.
Aleph,
Mm-hmm.
Bet, vet, gimel,
Mhm.
dalet, hey, hey,
Yeah.
vav.
Okay. Now I have a question for you before you mute yourself. Naomi, did you recognize all those letters pretty well? Because we learned all those letters, right?
Yes, except the vav, which I still have issues, but yes.
Okay. So yes. So Naomi was smart. She took the first line. The first line after today, we've learned all those letters. Okay. Donald has a little bit of he took the other line where we have learned all those letters. So you guys have picked the two lines where we've learned all those letters. Is there any other line that you guys can think of where we've learned letters, all the letters?
The fifth line. Shin, sin, tav, and tav.
Yep, that's the other line. Shin, sin, tav, and tav. So so let me stop here. That's what one thing that I wanted to look at with you guys here, because this is the one place I had it that you can see it. So again, I don't know if this helps you, but this is the way I think of it. In Hebrew, we read from right to left. Okay. And so when we say the sh sound, that's more than just a s sound, right? Sh is two letters, and shin, or just the plain s sound, is one sound. So I always say that we have the most sounds on the right side and the least sounds on the left side for this. So it is sh first and then second. Okay. So sometimes that helps people. The other thing too, if you know Spanish, okay, and you used to see, right? If you look at you put them together, the first one makes an S sound, S, and the one on the right makes a sh. So it's like she, you know what I mean? Even though it's not an I, like C, I know in Spanish it's SI is C, but it's kind of like she, E, C. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Some people have said, oh, it's kind of like saying C in Spanish. So anyway, so I don't know if that works either, but the SH is on the end and the C is on this side. Again, I wish I could find, the more I do this, the more I find that the way that we were taught to learn the letters are not necessarily ways that work anymore, because the people don't apply to them. It doesn't make any sense anymore. So I apologize. And then again, our tav and tav, they both have toes. The only difference is they have that dot in the middle. Okay, now go up one line and we have pay and fay, right? The same thing. They look exactly alike. The only difference is that there's a dot in the pay and there's no dot in the fay. Okay, so in this case, that dot is like a penny or a plosive, whatever you want to use to help you remember it. But it's the p, so it's the hard p. And then this doesn't have anything, so it's f. Okay, this is just its own rule. I'm thinking, and I think someone told me a long time ago that used to mean like a harder T, but I don't think it really did. So
in the list, so there's this list that was put out. I forgot the organization, but they only list pay. So the difference would be you just put the dot in there and it would be fay.
yes, because that's a good point. Because pay and fay and bet and vet, think about it. If you're listening to someone in a conversation and they say, my name is Stephen Ball or Stephen Vol, okay? You might want to ask them, is that B as in ball or V as in victory, right? If we're in the military, or V, I forgot the V, what the V is for. Sorry. But we might want to ask them because just in general, it is really hard to tell the difference between Ball and Vol. So if your name is Stephen Vol, okay, you might have a lot of people write Stephen Ball, right? So it's really very close to the same sound. And in fact, I tell my 13-year-olds who are doing their bar mitzvah, if you are saying like B'nai mitzvah and you say V'nai, I might not even catch it because I might hear the B because they're so very close. Pay and Fay are exactly the same. Think about it. If you have what is her? Tina Fey, right? Tina Fey. That's a F for sure. And we know Tina Fey because we know who Tina Fey is. But now what if we said, oh no, I'm not Tina Fey. My name is Tina Pay. You might not, if they don't say the P hard enough, you might have to say, wait a minute, is that a T as in Tom or a P as in Peter? Because they're so very close together. And that's exactly the same thing. Is there, okay. And okay, so here's one more. Can I look on it's the second line right here. Towards the end, we had our Zion, our Het, our Tet, our Yod, and then we have our Kaf with the dot, and that's a CHAF, and then we have Kaf, KAF, okay? Or there's hundreds of ways to spell and translate, but this is called Kaf and Kaf. The same thing. What's the difference between these two letters? Nothing but a dot, right? And so the Kaf, I tell my kids, you got to cough it out. Cough, where this is cough. It's just not, it's hard. And if you told me, hey, I don't even have a good name that I can use for this, but, you know, I'm going to use, well, even cough and cough, you can tell, like you can't even hardly tell the difference. Cough. I put a little bit more of a ch in it, cough. Some people do that to make it, or cough. It's so very similar. And the dot is just telling, go ahead.
How do you pronounce the one that has the dot?
Okay, so the one that has the dot is technically, okay, you want to push more air through it. So it's cough. But
Okay.
in order to do that, sometimes you can put a little bit of that cough, like, but it's really cough. It's harder, where cough is super soft. Cough. So go ahead.
It's kind of like when you're pronouncing het, right? It'd be cough and cough. Okay.
Yes.
So with the dot in it, it's cough.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And then, so this is the funny thing. This is a funny thing about Hebrew. And my instructor, my college instructor always used to tell me, Madison, we don't have to understand why they do it. We just have to learn because it's already been written, 3,000 to 5,000 years ago, whatever the dates are. Because why did they do that with het, right? And hey, why? Because het and hey are almost the same thing too, right? In fact, in Israel, you can't even tell the difference. I can't tell the difference between someone in Israel saying het or hala and hala. It sounds exactly the same. So why did they do dots here and dots at bet and vet, but they didn't do dots and het and hey? And the answer is, we don't know. That's the way they wrote it. So we don't have to figure out why they wrote it that way. That's not our job. We just have to do it. But yes, exactly. You caught it. Bet, cough, pay, fay, and those are the ones that are the degeshed ones.
So the cough and the cough are on the second line, second to last, third to last.
Hold on, let me just, Brenda has to sign off. Thanks, Brenda. I'll see you and we'll post it later. So, okay. Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the cough and cough are the second and third to last on the second line.
Yeah. In fact, if you really want me to mess with your head, don't mess you up. But we have cough, and we have final cough. So that's one that we're not going to learn till the next time. but these are all forms of the same sound, these last three.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. So, okay. It is 8:06. So I'm going to end I'm going to stay for a minute. I'm not going to hang up right away, but I'm going to, stop. I'm going to stop recording. So hold on. Let me just do that quick because I'm slow, but, there we go. So I stopped recording.